When you hear the word cartel, what comes to mind? Maybe Pablo Escobar. Maybe El Chapo. Powerful men with armies of hitmen, right? But here's the truth. Most people don't talk about. Behind some of the world's most feared cartels, women were just as powerful. Some were mothers who stepped in after their husbands were killed. Some were wives who protected the empire when everyone else was gone. And others? They became legends, remembered for their brains, their beauty, and their brutal way of breaking every rule about what women are supposed to be. So here's the real question. Who were these women? How did they rise in a world where only men were expected to lead? And why do their names still send chills today? Stay tuned, because in this video, we're uncovering the untold stories of the women behind cartels. From the Godmother of Cocaine to the Queen of the Pacific, their lives prove one thing: power has no gender. And before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. It helps when most people think of drug cartels, bring you more deep stories like this one. Breaking the stereotype. For a long time, people believed drug cartels were only a man's world. Violence, money, and power were always linked to men. But the truth is not that simple. When men were sent to prison or killed, it was often women who stepped in to keep things running. Some handled the money, others arranged shipments, and a few even made important deals. Some women chose this life because they wanted power. Others didn't really have a choice. It was about survival and protecting their families. At first, many people didn't take them seriously. Authorities thought women couldn't be dangerous leaders. But that mistake gave some of them time to build quiet power. And by the time the world noticed, it was already too late. Griselda Blanco, the Godmother of Cocaine. No story about women in cartels can start without talking about Griselda Blanco. She is often called the Godmother of Cocaine, and for good reason. In the 1970s and 80s, she built one of the most feared drug empires in history. Griselda was born in Colombia and grew up with very little. Life was hard, and from a young age she learned to survive through crime. By the time she made it to the United States, she was already connected to the drug world. In Miami, during the height of the cocaine boom, she rose to power quickly. She controlled shipments worth millions of dollars and was known for using extreme violence to protect her business. Unlike many male bosses, she didn't hide in the shadows. She wanted people to fear her name. But Griselda wasn't just ruthless. She was also clever. She invented new ways to smuggle drugs, even hiding them inside clothes and suitcases. She also used people that authorities wouldn't suspect, like women, children, and even older people, to move her product. Her rule turned Miami into one of the most dangerous cities in America at the time. Police later called that period the cocaine cowboy era. For years, she seemed untouchable. But in the end, she was arrested and sent to prison. After serving her time, she was deported back to Colombia, where she was eventually killed in 2012. Griselda's life shows that women in the cartel world were not just helpers or supporters. She became the boss, the one in charge, and left behind a dark but unforgettable legacy. Enedina Arellano Félix, the accountant of the cartel. While Griselda Blanco became famous for her violence, Enedina Arellano Félix gained her power in a very different way. People called her La Jefa, which means the boss. But unlike many cartel leaders, she didn't rule with bloodshed. She ruled with her mind. Enedina came from the well-known Arellano Félix family, the same family that built the Tijuana cartel. Her brothers were feared for their extreme violence, and for years they made Tijuana one of the most dangerous cartel territories in Mexico. But when many of them were either killed or arrested, it was Enedina who stepped in to take control. She wasn't a killer or a hit woman. She was an accountant. With her education and financial knowledge, she turned the cartel from a violent gang into a more organized business. She focused on money laundering, building connections, and cutting down on needless violence. Unlike Griselda Blanco, Enedina was not flashy. She stayed more in the background, letting her quiet but sharp leadership guide the cartel. Because of her, the Tijuana cartel survived during a time when it could have easily fallen apart. Her story shows something important. Power in cartels doesn't always come from guns or violence. Sometimes it comes from intelligence, patience, and the ability to manage money better than anyone else. Sandra Ávila Beltrán, the Queen of the Pacific. Few women in cartel history captured as much attention as Sandra Ávila Beltrán, better known as the Queen of the Pacific. She was born into a powerful drug family, which meant her life was tied to the trade from the very beginning. But Sandra didn't only rely on her family's name, she built her own path. She became a key link between Colombian and Mexican cartels, making her one of the most important figures in the cocaine business. What made her different was not just her role, but her image. Sandra was glamorous, elegant, and often in the public eye. The media described her as beautiful and mysterious, a woman who mixed charm with influence. Her fame inspired songs, books, and TV shows. But in 2007, her power ended when she was arrested. After years in prison, she was released, yet her legend still lives on. Marjorie Chacon, the Queen of the South. Marjorie Chacon, known as the Queen of the South, was one of the most powerful women in Central America's drug world. She came from Guatemala and built a reputation that made her both feared and respected. What made Marjorie different was the way she lived two lives. On the surface, she looked like a successful businesswoman. She owned companies, attended fancy events, and was seen as someone wealthy and admired. But behind that image, she was secretly involved in drug trafficking and money laundering. Her ability to hide her true world behind a clean public face made her very hard to catch. For years, authorities tried to connect her to crimes but couldn't prove much. In the end, she was finally arrested and sentenced. Marjorie's story shows how cartel women often gain power not only through violence but through clever deception. Claudia Ochoa Felix, the Kim Kardashian of crime. Claudia Ochoa Felix, often called the Kim Kardashian of crime, became famous not in the streets but online. She gained attention on social media by posting pictures of her glamorous lifestyle, luxury cars, designer outfits, parties, and sometimes even weapons. Her beauty and boldness made her an instant internet sensation, and rumors quickly tied her to cartel leaders and violent groups in Mexico. But the truth about Claudia was never clear. Some believed she was deeply involved in organized crime, while others thought the media exaggerated her role to create a dramatic story. What can't be denied is how she became a symbol of how crime, fame, and social media can mix. Her sudden death in 2019 left more questions than answers. Was she truly a powerful figure, or just someone trapped in the image of one? Her story remains wrapped in mystery. Wives, daughters, and mothers in the shadows. Not every woman in the cartel world becomes famous. Many remain hidden in the shadows, quietly playing roles that keep everything moving. They are the wives who hide money, the daughters who deliver secret messages, and the mothers who protect their sons. Often, these women are not chasing power or wealth. Instead, they act out of loyalty, love, or even fear. If a husband is killed, a wife may take charge to protect her children. If a father is arrested, a daughter might continue the business to keep the family safe. Though rarely mentioned, these silent figures are the backbone that helps cartels survive. Power, fear, and survival. Women join or lead cartels for many different reasons, and not all are simple. Some chase ambition, wanting the same power and respect that men hold. Others are pulled in by family ties, with no real choice but to follow. For many, poverty leaves them with few options, and the cartel world seems like a way out. But power in this world is dangerous. Women often face double judgment, punished by the law while also criticized by society. Men may be seen as strong, but women are often labeled as out of place. For many, joining is less about greed and more about survival. Media, myth, and narco culture, movies, TV shows, and music often paint women in cartels as glamorous and powerful, living a life of luxury without fear. Shows like Queen of the South or Narcos take pieces of real stories but add drama that makes these women look untouchable. This image can be tempting, especially for young women who see wealth and respect in the lifestyle. But the truth is very different. Behind the designer clothes and parties is a world full of fear, betrayal, and danger. The myth of the cartel queen may look shiny, but the reality is darker and often tragic. The cost of power. In the end, women in cartels often face the same dark endings as men: prison, betrayal, or death. Families are broken, children are left behind, and power fades away. Griselda was killed, Sandra jailed, Claudia died mysteriously, and Marjorie lost everything. The pattern is always the same. What seems like success is only temporary. In this world, the price of power is high, and the ending is rarely peaceful. Conclusion. The stories of these women show us something powerful. Cartels were never just a man's world. Women were not only helpers in the shadows, they were leaders, masterminds, and even feared figures in their own right. From the Godmother of Cocaine to the Queen of the Pacific, their choices shaped history in ways most people never imagined. But here's the other side of the story. Behind the headlines and legends, their lives were filled with fear, violence, and betrayal. The power they gained always came with a heavy price. So, it leaves us with a question. Was the power worth the pain? And what does it really say about a world where crime doesn't care about gender? It only cares about power? Thank you for watching this episode of the Narco Files. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want more untold stories, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. It helps us keep bringing you more content like this. Stories that reveal the hidden side of crime.